How's it going, guys? My name is Jerry with Aesthetic Auto Detailing, and in this video I'm going to talk to you guys about how I was lowballed pretty hard and how I handled the situation.
All right, Jerry. So, how'd you get this potential customer?
So it was a referral. You know, a good friend of mine, they referred me and they said like, hey, you know, I have this person. They work in an office. If you do this client, there's going to be a couple of other like employees that are going to want the cars done as well. Obviously, talking about the prices and all that's going to be between me and the client. So once I got there, I had like a couple of the employees. You know, the first employee actually came up to me and was like, oh hey, I would love to have my car done, but I heard that you charge X amount, and I'm from a different state, and that's not what I want to pay. I had a guy pay this much or charge me this much, and instantly, nasty taste in my mouth. I was just kind of like, well, this is a different state, One, I kind of wanted to say like, hey, this is California, but got to keep it professional, and I just mentioned like, all right, well, like the price that I'm giving you guys is the hookup, because I usually charge, this much, and they were just like, yeah, well, if you charge me that much, like I don't want to do it. So at this point, it's not even like, hey, like can you do anything better, this and that. If they give me, like a little like good reasoning or something like that, and if it doesn't take too much out of like my day, my money, sometimes I'll throw in something for them, because I've done it for a couple clients, and they're clients till this day. They're loyal. This wasn't the case though. They were demanding it, and personally, it just felt a little disrespectful, So the way I handled it with that person was I told them, all right, I'll take a look and I'll see what we could do. Kind of left it open. They're like, okay. And then I went to go look at the other vehicles, and they just mentioned like, oh yeah, so you could do the SUVs for this much, and then you could do the sedans for this much. They didn't ask like, hey, how do you feel about this price, this and that. They were telling me. And let's be real, guys, a lot of us take a leap of faith to create our business, to not deal with people telling us what to do, right? We do what we want and how we want to run things. So when they did that to me, it felt a little disrespectful, especially when clients like that, in this situation, they have money. So, I try not to show it, but I was just kind of like, all right, yeah, no problem. I'll see what we could do. Same thing. I did the 2 SUVs because they're a little more, and I ended up getting a call from another client, one of my fleet accounts actually, and I went to go do that job, So yeah, it was just an ugly feeling. Obviously, it's not ideal for us to be giving people like a discount, but they were gonna have multiple vehicles. It's just the price wasn't where, I kind of agreed to.
Got it. Now, a little bit more backstory, Jerry. You had help that day.
Yeah.
So there goes an expense.
Exactly. Yeah.
You were about 45 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
There goes the gas.
Exactly.
And roughly on those 2 cars that you did, how long did you take?
Roughly, I took about an hour and a half on each vehicle, which I was a little surprised because the first one wasn't bad. So I was like, okay, not too bad. It was a bigger vehicle. Second vehicle, it was kind of bad. It was one of those things where I'm sure some of you guys have had it, to where a client knows they're getting a vehicle done, a detail, and they didn't even take the time to clean out their car. That was the situation for the second vehicle. So we had to take some time away from that detail and just throw everything in the trunk, which the trunk was practically already full. So yeah, it's just stuff like that, like usually when I experience something like that, I tell clients off top, like, hey, if you knew that I was coming, next time, please make sure that you clean out your vehicle, this and that. Because I've had people tell me like, oh, well, that's your job. You should be doing that. You're there to detail their car. I don't know if it's just how I think, or let me know, guys, am I wrong in this situation? But I'm there to detail the vehicle and not pick up after them. I'm not a maid, I'm not doing housekeeping, I'm detailing the vehicle itself.
Since we're trying to educate more new detailers, when you first start, you're hungry, you don't have a lot of clients. should new detailers take those lowballers just to bring in something and eventually let them go when their business grows? Or do you feel, nah, from the get-go, don't even take them?
I was that hungry detailer when I first started. I was taking anybody and everybody, even if they lowballed me, because I wanted to gain that clientele. You know, people tell you those empty promises. Hey, if you give me this price, I'll send people to you. Hey, you give me this price, I'll continue coming to you. A lot of that stuff never happened. You know, I gave them a good price. They were happy with the work, and they were still trying to find somebody cheaper. So what I would say to that is something that I feel like I would have started doing earlier was know my worth. You know, if somebody lowballs you, it's a show of them not respecting you or your business. They don't respect your prices. And in my experience, when you hook up clients like that, they're the ones that end up complaining about like, oh, you missed a spot, or oh, I thought you were gonna do this. They start asking for more. You don't need clients like that.
All right, Jerry. So you finished 2 out of the 5 cars, you know, because you got busy, and plus those 3 cars, they wanted you to, well, they weren't officially booked. They
Yeah,
said, hey,
yeah.
if you got time, can you do it at
Exactly,
this price?
exactly. So that's kind of why I did that also, because I knew for a fact that I was doing the 2 vehicles for sure. And then when I got there, I was already working on the other vehicles, on the 2 main vehicles. And then they mentioned, hey, you know, we have this vehicle also, you know, so it's gonna be a total of 5 if you have the time. So they kind of left that option up to me as well. But before I even went over to that spot, I had gotten a call from my fleet account. So I already knew that I was gonna take care of my fleet account, and if I could squeeze in those other cars at the first clients, then I would do it. But it just worked out to where, you know, I had to take some extra time on the other vehicles, and it was gonna work with my schedule. I already had an idea, like, I'm gonna finish this by this time, I'm gonna need some travel time, I'm gonna take care of the fleet account, and then I'm still gonna need this time to travel. Was it gonna work out?
All right, Jerry. You know, how long have you been detailing?
8 years now, 2017.
What are some nice ways or indirect ways to let go of a low baller? Let's say through the DMs or in person. What advice do you have? For example, leave them on red, make up an excuse that you can't get to them, tell them you're busy, or be straight up and be like, you know what? I know my worth. I can't do that price. You can find somebody else. What would you say?
Yeah, so for sure, one of them is if I'm talking to them either over the phone or in person, and they say something like, "Oh, that's too expensive," then I, you know, politely say like, "Oh, well, I understand. You know, I'm not for everybody. You know, I've said that. I've had to be a little stern with people because, you know, customers, they're always like try to see what they can get out of you. You know, so I've had to be stern with people, and I tell them, my price is my price. And it's happened a few times to where they're kind of like, oh, I respect that. All right, let's do it. But usually the ones that are nickel and diming, they're just like, oh, your price is your price? All right, no problem, have a good one. Or they hang up on me. I've had people hang up on me, you know. It just happened a couple days ago. Yeah, person was very rude. And there's been a couple of clients, you know, like you mentioned, telling them that you're busy. There's been a few clients where I've had to fire them, you know, indirectly. I don't mind telling a person like, hey, you know what, like I no longer want to work with you, this and that, but the way people are nowadays, they have it stuck in their mind where it's like the client is always right, you know? And people can't realize that they're the problem sometimes. So I just need to realize, or actually I just start telling them like, oh, I'm super busy, this and that. Oh, sorry, I can't get to you. Eventually they're not gonna want to schedule with you anymore, you know? So that's kind of how I approach it. But if I've done that to you, sometimes I am busy. Sometimes I am busy, you know? I've had a few people to where they try booking with me, this and that, and I just get caught up, man, you know? Like right now, I'm taking care of all the messages from my phone, Instagram, Google, you know, my email, and I get behind sometimes. So if you randomly get a message from me and I'm like, hey, you know, I apologize, let's work something out. That's what happened. So I didn't fire you.
Hey, Jerry, do you ever flex those 5-star reviews?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, man, you know what? I do. And you know why? Because it's taken like 8 years of hard work for doing that, you know? I think I've probably only had Google review or my Google business page, maybe 3 years, 4 years max. But yeah, I do for sure, because it's hard work, man. You know, you don't get those reviews just for nothing, you know? It takes a lot of like customer service, making them happy, you know, providing results for them. So yeah, I've flexed them quite a few times. I get a lot of clients just from the reviews alone. You know, they tell me over the phone like, oh yeah, I called you because, you know, you have like a large amount of five-star reviews. You know, I looked through some of the comments, and, you know, people raved about you, this and that. I'm like, oh yeah, of course. So, you know, like, how can I help you? And, you know, I always tell clients, like, one, I always, you know, strive for perfection, even though perfection isn't a thing. But I always try to, you know, make sure I do it right the first time. I try to always take my time, and I want my clients to be happy, you know, because I'm a business. You need those returning clients, and you need clients to be happy, because if you're not providing any of that, you're gonna go down.
Give me an example of how you throw in the 5-star reviews in there when you're trying to give a quote.
So let's see. For example, I've gotten a call before, we're talking, and they usually mention like, oh yeah, you know, I found you on Google. And then we start talking, and then they start talking about pricing, this and that. And I'll ask, oh, you know, since you found me on Google, did you have a chance to take a look at my reviews? And then they're like, oh yeah, I did actually. Okay, well, you know, they speak for themselves, kind of thing. I try not to be cocky about it, you know, but I'm proud of them for sure. I really am.
All right, Jerry, last question is, this lowballing client that you did 2 cars, you gonna work with them? You gonna raise the price? If you're not busy?
You know what? I wouldn't mind working with them. I feel like that client would be like a great contact to have. But the price that I gave them, you know, it's for a maintenance wash. That's the lowest I will go. And the reason why I feel so strongly about the situation, one, like I mentioned, I started my business so I don't have to, you know, take that from certain people. Two, I'm 45 minutes away from them, so driving over there, you know, it's travel time. And three, I had help with me. So really, if I'm gonna go over there, travel all that way, do it for the price that they want, and I'm not making a profit and I'm actually losing money, it's not worth my time at all. So that's someone that lowballed me. That's how I handled the situation. Let me know how you guys would have handled this in the comments below. And my goal is to help all the newer detailers get better in business. So if you guys like this content, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay blessed.